Joining us now is OjyOkpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Jinx.
Laughing. Good morning, Dr. Batty. How are you this morning? Good morning, Rufai.
Bless you all.
We're missing Ayo today again, all right? Well, good morning to you, viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe.
In the United Kingdom, the chairman of Hess Holdings in Nigeria, Tony Elumelu, joined King Charles III and U.S. President Joe Biden at the Climate Finance Mobilization Forum in London on Monday to help attract a new generation of capital to combat climate change. Elumelu is one of Africa's most prominent advocates of equitable climate finance and is the leading founder of Young African Entrepreneurs through the Tony Elumelu Foundation, working to create sustainable climate solutions. In the United States, Mark Zuckerberg's microblogging platform, Threads, has recorded over 100 million subscribers just 4 days after its launch. The app, which was launched on July 6th with similar features to rival Elon Musk's Twitter, was met with threats of a lawsuit from Twitter over unlawful misappropriation of its trade secrets. According to reports, it took 5 years for Twitter to reach 100 million subscribers. In Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu arrived in Abuja on Monday after his first regional engagement on the African continent since assuming office on May 29th. The president participated in the 63rd Ordinary Session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West African States in the capital of Guinea-Bissau on Sunday. During the summit, the president was elected chairman of ECOWAS and kick-started his one-year tenure with a rousing speech. Under sports, former gymnastics team doctor Larry Nassar is reportedly in stable condition after being stabbed multiple times by another inmate during an assault in a federal prison on Sunday. The 59-year-old was stabbed twice in the neck, twice in the back, and 6 times in the chest at a U.S. penitentiary in Florida. Nassar suffered a collapsed lung during the attack. The gymnastics doctor was convicted in 2018 of sexually assaulting members of the U.S. team, including Olympic gold medalist Simone Biles. He is 7 decades in prison after abusing members of the squad under the guise of medical treatment. Finally, under entertainment, multiple award-winning Afrobeat star Davido, who is currently on tour in the United States, sold out the 10,000 capacity Credit Union One Arena in Chicago. The 30-year-old star, who recently performed his hit single, Unavailable, at the 2023 BET Awards, thrilled the audience with an impressive rendition of several of his hit songs from the past and from his record-breaking 4th album, Timeless.
Well, all right, let's begin what's trending. Aisha Dahiru Binani, the All Progressives Congress candidate in the Adamawa governorship election, has again filed a lawsuit against the Independent National Electoral Commission over the nullification of her declaration as governor of Adamawa State in the March 18th governorship election. Binani's counsel, Aondoaka, in a motion filed at the Federal High Court in Abuja, listed INEC, the People's Democratic Party, and its candidate, Governor Ahmadu Fintiri, as first, second, and third respondents. Binani in the suit sought a judicial review of the decision by INEC to reverse her earlier announcement as winner of the poll by the state's Resident Electoral Commissioner, Hudu Yunusa-Ari. She argued that it was the Election Petition Tribunal that has the constitutional power to decide her fate in accordance with Section 149 of the Electoral Act 2022. Well, In the meantime, a federal high court in Abuja on Monday restrained the Independent National Electoral Commission from prosecuting Hudu Yunusa-Ari, the suspended Resident Electoral Commissioner in Adamawa State. The REC had stirred controversy by declaring Aisha Dahiru Binani as the winner of the Adamawa governorship election when the collation of results were yet to be announced. On Thursday, INEC revealed that the commission had filed a 6-count charge against Yunusa-Ari before a high court in Yola. Binani, through her counsel, Michael Aondoaka, moved the ex parte motion to stop Yunusa-Ari's prosecution. Aondoaka argued that until the election petition tribunal decides the fate of his client in accordance with Section 149 of the Electoral Act 2022, the prosecution of Yunusa-Ari cannot be said to be valid. Well, let's take some reactions. This has caused a lot of concern by some social media users. This is from Prince, who wrote, "The courts are at it again. Order and counter order. Someone has just been charged to court, and suddenly there is an order to halt prosecution. I pray this doesn't mark the end of this case, as many Nigerians are interested in the outcome of this trial." Well, Oyeni wrote, "How can the citizens trust this kind of justice system, easily maneuvered with technicalities? What has the decision of the tribunal got to do with his obvious wrongdoing that the organization he represented during the election could not defend it?" Rufai.
So I'll make a couple of general statements. Number one, judiciary should stand tall because it's the hope of the common man. And any attempt not to do that and not to stand in that stead as being the hope of the common man, I just hope the people don't start to look otherwise. And we should be careful. Secondly, Mr. Ari's case, I think, is independent from what was said in this ex parte order. Mr. Ari and a couple of other actors committed a grand crime, I should say. Anyway, it's a court that will determine that. But in the court of moral opinion, it's a grand crime. An election was not completed. The main returning officer was beaten blue-black. And all of a sudden, Mr. Ari and other actors and some police officers went out there to announce the result of an election that was not concluded, that caused mayhem. And I say other actors because the Nigerian Television Authority too was part of this. Until date, the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission has not called them out. So you can see the shenanigan that goes on in Nigeria. And finally, INEC stepped in as an institution one day or two after, finally announced the results. And then Mrs. Binani, Madam Binani went to court. Anyway, Binani is a nickname. That's not her full name. Madam Binani went to court. Now they are talking about the election petition tribunal to rule on this. Now there's an ex parte to stop the prosecution of Mr. Ari. I think number one, Mr. Ari should be prosecuted independently of what happened. And that's why we keep talking about an independent defense commission. And that's why I even allude to what Mr. Febabaloa was saying yesterday, that 7 judges should not even be allowed to touch election matters. Maybe we should have like special courts for election matters on its own. Secondly, when you look at it, these optics look very bad for our country. Then we are fast building a country where those high up there can get away from the law. And there is no justice. Because what do you say about the professor that was beaten blue-black? How will he feel when he sees all of this happening? And in all of this, Mr. Ari is a lawyer. So if people that should know the law can perpetrate these crimes because they have people backing them, then what kind of country are we building? Then we've built a very shambolic country that is a joke to everybody, and the world is watching us. This same incident was talked about in the EU report. That's why when some people say they disagree with the EU report, yes, they have a right to disagree. I will not deny them their right, like Voltaire says. But also, common sense is not common. Were those infractions done as stated in the EU report? Yes. And the world is laughing at us. I know they can bring in legal technicalities. I know if you call 10 lawyers to look at this, they're going to look at it from 10 different perspectives because of technicalities. But me, I will talk with the outlook of things I see. This is not how to build a country. We are fast building a country that chaos will be very easy to happen if we don't nip all of these things in the bud.
All right.
I rest.
Wait,
What are the issues here? Let's look at the issues. Now, what the Counsel to Binani and to Yunusa-Ari did, perhaps in this case, Michael Aondoaka, SAN, there are two cases. Let's take the first one. In the first case, he said, look, you cannot prosecute Yunusa-Ari in the light of Section 285 sub 6. And that Section 285 sub 6 says that the tribunal has a period of 180 days within which to determine the matter. And what is the key issue in the matter? It is the declaration of Aisha Dahiru as the winner of that election by, Yunusa-Ari. And that if you go ahead to try Yunusa-Ari, it may be, prejudicial to the case that is before the tribunal. So Aondoaka, SAN, Counsel, says, well, I brought an ex parte motion to ask for an order saying, look, there should be a status quo antebellum should be maintained. It doesn't mean that Yunusa-Ari has escaped likely prosecution. Because you recall that the INEC said it got a report from the police, 225 files of persons to be prosecuted. And the INEC chairman said it was going to proceed against the errant INEC Resident Commissioner in Adamawa State, in this case, Yunusa-Ari. So now, he gets his lawyer to go to court to say, in the light of Section 2856, the other related matter not having been determined, then the matter cannot go ahead. So what Justice Donatus Okorowo did was to grant an ex parte injunction. People are very, uncomfortable with ex parte injunction. Ex parte injunctions are usually very controversial. But now he has adjourned the matter till July 18 for the respondent in the matter, in this case INEC and the Attorney General of the Federation, to come and give reason why the court should not grant the request by Yunusa-Ari's counsel. So the process continues on July 18. So the matter has not been resolved. What I may be uncomfortable with is the second matter that Aondoaka SAN is pursuing. With due respect, this same Aisha Dahiru had gone to the Federal High Court before, immediately after the declaration of Governor Fintiri as winner. And Justice Inyang-Ekwa, had asked the counsel to address the court on the matter of jurisdiction. They were seeking at that time order of prohibition and an order of certiorari. And the court said, come and address us on jurisdiction. But that case was eventually dismissed because Justice Inyang-Ekwa ruled that the tribunal is the appropriate place to go within the purview of Section 149 and also that Section 285. Now, it's the same matter that Binani's counsel, Aondoaka SAN, has now taken to another court. Does that not, with due respect, amount to an abuse of court process? Yes. But it is for the court to determine that. Because if indeed the argument that Michael Aondoaka SAN put up, that well, this application is not frivolous. When I read that, I looked at it, I said, well, if it is not frivolous, maybe you are suspicious that the court may say, why are you moving from court to court on the same matter? But that is for the court to determine.
All right. Well, let's take another story that has been making headlines. The battle for control of FBN Holdings, parent company of First Bank, Nigeria's oldest bank, has taken a dramatic turn. On Thursday, July 6th, the company's former chairman, Oba Otudeko, emerged as the largest shareholder of FBN Holdings after acquiring 4.8 billion shares in a cross deal worth 87.8 billion naira, taking over from billionaire businessman Femi Otedola, who was the single largest shareholder of the financial service group. Well, in a twist of events, Ecobank Nigeria, in a letter dated Friday, July 7th, wrote to FBN Holdings PLC asking the financial institution not to recognize the 4.8 billion shares acquired by Otudeko, stating that Otudeko and his affiliated companies owe the bank over 13.5 billion naira. Ecobank's legal team in the letter accused Otudeko of intentionally diverting his assets to evade debt payment, further stating that Otudeco used Barbican Capital Limited, an affiliate of Honeywell Group owned by Otudeco, which was incorporated in March 2023, with two of his children having significant control, as a special purpose vehicle to divert his assets so as to frustrate the execution of a Supreme Court judgment affirming his indebtedness to EcoBank. I mean, Rufai, Dr. Bati, this story is making headlines, obviously, because it's a battle between the billionaires. I mean, I believe that the term special purpose vehicle came up during the election, during the election time, with Atiku's aide claiming that Atiku was using that special purpose vehicle to collect bribes. But I think the main issue really is the fact that, you know, as you know, the CBN governor had sacked Otudeco in April 2021. So the question was, why did he have to invest over 87 billion naira in First Bank? What was he trying to prove? Did he feel like he was going to be able to sit on the board? Because it does appear that, you know, he may not be able to sit on the board for a couple of years. Rufai.
So a couple of things. I think, Joma, we wrote a very interesting article about this. Was back page this day yesterday, and she calls it the Game of Thrones. Number one, what is happening is this. While all of the brouhaha went on last year, in 2021 with Otudeco,
yes,
and how First Bank had gone down, and CBN governor booted him out, Godwin Emefiele, Femi Otedola was buying First Bank shares, and all of a sudden became the high shareholder. So what has happened now is that Otudeco has had his cases on for a while with EcoBank, where he owes them about $17 million, that's about 13 billion.
13.5 billion.
So, but he made a sale recently of his Honeywell group, and when he sold Honeywell to Flour Mill, he got about 87 billion. Normally, once you get that money, you have a lot of encumbrances in debt to EcoBank. You're supposed to be able to channel the money into clearing out your debts and all your encumbrances. But the interesting twist to it is diversion of assets, sets up this SPV, Barbican Capital, makes the key people there his children, and uses that Barbican Capital to be able to make an inroad back into First Bank, and buys the shares of First Bank and getting back into the market. Automatically, there's going to be a lot of fight to finish. The Otedola camp will definitely want to get back the dominant role, because he's encumbered to EcoBank, and that's why EcoBank has gone to court, saying, where's our money? Because if you got 87 billion, you should be able to pay up their 13 billion.
Yeah.
And while all of this is happening, a lot of the regulators and the big market watchers are watching it. So it's another battle royale.
Right.
It's a clash of the titans this time around. Let's see how all of this pans out. Let's see how EcoBank will be able to go with the court and all of that. But the reason why Otudeco was butchered out in the first place was a mismanagement of First Bank.
No.
And we should never forget what happened the first time around.
Right. And the interesting thing, Dr. Abati, is that the CBN has taken action against the Barbican Capital, which is the company that had acquired those shares in First Bank. And I'll read a little bit of the report. It says the Apex Bank will review Otudeco's FBN acquisition in accordance with its fit and proper rules, along with Securities and Exchange Commission and Nigerian Exchange. Well, the CBN report, the Apex Bank says that it cannot prevent investors from trading, but that it is the authority to ensure that only suitable individuals have significant influence over the bank's management. They will move to assess various criteria, including the source of funds and the credibility of the main beneficiary owner, before approving or rejecting the acquisition of those shares at First Bank.
When last week the Barbican Group, acquired 13.3% of First Bank with an, buying up shares with over 87.5 billion naira. Nairametrics did a review, and Nairametrics argued two major things: that by Friday, other shareholders had met, and that the purpose of that meeting was to stop, Mr. Otudeco from coming back to the bank. And second, Nairametrics said, this is an unfolding story. Even today, it's still an unfolding story. Three, Nairametrics said, everybody is waiting for the intervention of the regulatory authority. Now, the crisis in First Bank holding began even with the intervention of the central bank under Godwin Emefiele. And what triggered it was the removal at that time of Mr. Shola Adenutan as managing director, yeah. And then the crisis began. Then CBN intervened under Emefiele, and the excuse that the CBN gave at that time was that there was too much insider trading and that it needed to save the bank and protect shareholders and protect customers. That was what led to the exit of Mr. Oba Otudeko. And then what happened was that Shola Adenutan was then reinstated as managing director of the bank. And now what you see now is the return of Otudeko. And that is what is being resisted. So boardroom politics. But we have not had the last of the story. The other big thing to note is this issue about EcoBank. Now, EcoBank and Honeywell went to court. Initially, it was alleged that Honeywell was owing 5.5 billion naira. Honeywell then said they had reached an agreement for settlement and that they had paid 3.5 billion naira out of the 5.5 billion and that they were not owing anything. So the Court of Appeal looked at the matter, ruled against Honeywell. The matter went all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court found in favor of EcoBank because EcoBank argued that the agreement that Honeywell was referring to had expired in 2013 and therefore could not apply. So there are legal issues involved. And the main point of intervention by EcoBank at this time around is to tell First Bank to make sure that First Bank, in admitting Barbican, does not act in contempt and in violation of the ruling of the apex court of the land. So you see, there are, that's why I say it's an unfolding story. Maybe one party or the other will go to court, but I don't like to lose sleep when billionaires are playing their games.
Absolutely.
I showed more concern with all these borrowers, or this bottom of the rapid. Billionaires know how they play their games. Let us just stay at our level and mind our own palaver. They will resolve it.
Yes, very well. Developing story. We'll see how it goes. We'll take our final story. Former governor of Kaduna State, Nasiru El-Rufai, has broken his silence about a trending video in which he allegedly stated that he deceived Christians during the course of the electioneering campaigns, that the APC Muslim ticket was not for religious dominance, when in actual fact the tickets, both nationally and at the state level, were for Islamic dominance. Speaking at the launch of an autobiography and retirement program for Ishaq Akintola, a professor at the Lagos State University, El-Rufai said that he chose not to respond to the distortion of his statement because those involved have no regard for truth or accuracy, further describing the reported statements as manufactured falsehoods. The former governor of Kaduna State, while clarifying his statement, said that his message was simple and that what he said in the trending video was that leadership based on Islamic and indeed even Christian principles is fair and equitable, and prescribed that a leader must be fair and just to everyone, whether Muslim or Christian. El-Rufai went further to state that he is pleased to observe that the much decried Tinubu-Shettima APC ticket not only won the presidential election, but has shown within weeks that the Muslim presidency is capable of being fair to everyone, Muslim and non-Muslim alike. I guess we have been waiting for this clarification, Dr. Abati and Rufai, but I mean, this video did trend, and we did send it.
Can you play back the
video?
Yes,
I may just read a little bit of the text, because I did send it to some of my colleagues who are Hausa speaking. I'll read a little bit, and he said in that video, Allah, despite the ethnic gathering and despite the use of religion that was used, God gave Asiwaju Tinubu victory. What we successfully did in Kaduna, that is the Muslim ticket, has now been replicated all over the country. No liar will come out to play politics of Christianity and win election ever again. Peter Obi tried it, and you can see where he is today.
We've done the medicine for that one. Since Asiwaju won the election, Khan has been very silent. That's the only way there'll be peace in the land. By the time we do it over and over again, that is the Muslim rule, everywhere will be calm.
So you can see, and thank God there are evidence there, you can see that he's just trying to deflect from what he said. What he said was caught on tape, had been translated, was a particular thing he said that nobody will play the politics of Christianity again. It was said, and the tape is still there. So when people have that, just juxtapose it with what they said before and what they're trying to say now. They are two different things. Absolutely.
Dr. Bati, less than 30 seconds. Director says.
Okay, we don't seem to have time, but very quickly, he has an issue with the translation of what he said. He said he spoke in Hausa. And what he said is that whether you are a Muslim or a Christian, both religions, you know, ensure fairness and justice. And that is what he said. So it's his word against those people. The question to ask is, why didn't he react when that controversy came up? Yes. Only to wait now, you know, to react. So sometimes timing is also very important. But it's not the only one that speaks Hausa. People will take that tape again.
Yes, I had a reporter transcribe it. Yeah. Well, all right. I'd like to thank you both for your contribution on What's Trending today. That's all I have for you on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.